The BioShock series has been quiet for years, but what's been happening behind the scenes shows that this return has been anything but smooth. Narrative resets, internal studio changes, leaks, and questions that still don't have clear answers have turned BioShock 4 into not just a sequel, but the riskiest project in the history of the franchise. In this video, we're going to break down the officially confirmed information about BioShock 4, the reliable leaks, and exactly what went wrong during development. Before we get into the details, if you enjoy videos like this, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's get started. The BioShock franchise has become iconic in the gaming world, not just for its first-person shooter mechanics, but for the ideas it explores and the worlds it builds. The collapse of Rapture's individualist utopia and Columbia's themes of religious fanaticism and American exceptionalism pushed the series far beyond a standard FPS experience. Because of this, BioShock 4 isn't seen as a routine sequel, but as a project that could redefine the ideological legacy the series has carried for years within the modern gaming landscape. The long gap since the last entry hasn't just raised expectations, it has made this return significantly more risky. The official existence of BioShock 4 isn't new information. When 2K first confirmed the game in 2019, they announced that development had been handed to a newly formed studio called Cloud Chamber. However, in the years since then, almost no concrete details have been shared. No gameplay footage, no story hints, no clear creative vision. While this silence initially felt like a deliberate strategy, over time it raised serious questions about whether the project was facing major problems behind the scenes. By 2025, many of those questions were largely answered. According to a report by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, BioShock 4 failed to pass an internal review process at 2K, leading to a major restructuring of the project. Leadership changes, a complete narrative reset, and significant layoffs at the studio made it clear that development was not going according to plan. While 2K emphasized that the game was not canceled and was still in development, a restart of this scale is seen as a serious warning sign for a franchise as established as BioShock. Amid this turbulent process, one of the most intriguing elements surrounding BioShock 4 has been the leaks. Based on reliable sources but not officially confirmed, these reports suggest the game may feature a high-risk casino area and an Arctic-like, isolated exterior environment. These ideas fit surprisingly well with BioShock's long-standing themes of closed societies. Casinos, as spaces tied to control, reward, surveillance, and manipulation, provide a natural foundation for the franchise's ideological storytelling. These leaks also suggest that BioShock 4 won't completely abandon the series' visual and thematic identity. The information points toward a reinterpretation of BioShock's familiar aesthetic using modern technology rather than a radical stylistic shift. The possibility of Unreal Engine 5 raises expectations for the most technically detailed BioShock experience to date. Still, how this potential survives narrative resets and internal studio changes remains a major question mark. This breaking point in development may have reshaped not just the game's technical direction, but its philosophical identity as well. BioShock has always been built around a strong ideological framework, and weakening that framework risks losing the soul of the series. That's why the narrative reset is seen by some players as a hopeful move. BioShock's strength was never just in its mechanics, but in why its worlds existed and why they ultimately collapsed. Past job listings from Cloud Chamber suggest BioShock 4 may also experiment with structural changes. Mentions of open-ended storytelling, systemic AI, and narrative systems that react dynamically to player choices hint at an expansion of the traditional linear BioShock formula. However, the key question isn't whether BioShock will become a full open-world sandbox. A more likely scenario is a Dishonored or Prey-style structure, area-based environments with deep exploration. This approach could preserve the series' narrative power while meeting modern expectations. At this stage, the biggest danger facing BioShock 4 is an identity crisis. In an industry increasingly dominated by live service projects, a fully narrative-driven S with a massive budget is a serious risk. 2K's decision to restructure rather than cancel the project shows that the BioShock brand still holds significant value. At the same time, it may represent one of the franchise's last chances. Failure here could put its future in jeopardy. The absence of BioShock 4 from the spotlight for so many years has created both curiosity and distrust among players. No trailer, no concept art, no concrete story details have been shared, allowing expectations to grow unchecked. When the game finally reappears, even a strong release could struggle to live up to that build-up. For a legendary series like BioShock, managing expectations has become just as critical as the game itself. Despite all this uncertainty, the very existence of BioShock 4 sends an important message. In an era where single-player, narrative-driven games with ideological depth are becoming increasingly rare, BioShock's return is a test for the industry. If Cloud Chamber can preserve the franchise's core values while delivering a modern interpretation, BioShock 4 could become more than a sequel. It could prove that games like this still have a place. One of the biggest questions surrounding BioShock 4 is how it will connect to the series' past. So far, no official information confirms a direct return to Rapture or Columbia. But BioShock has always been more about ideas than physical locations. A completely new city can still fully embody the series' spirit. An isolated society with its own rules and an inevitable collapse remains a foundational pillar of BioShock's identity. The rumored casino-themed area stands out in this context. Casinos represent the thin line between chance and control, offering the illusion of freedom while enforcing absolute systemic dominance. Considering BioShock's past focus on individualism and fanaticism, this setting could be ideologically rich if handled correctly, creating a strong thematic link to previous entries. The rumored Arctic-like environment could further reinforce BioShock's themes of loneliness and isolation. Rapture was cut off beneath the ocean, Columbia floated above the world in the sky. A new city built in a cold, uninhabitable region would continue this tradition of utopias disconnected from the world. Visually and narratively, such a setting carries enormous potential. The narrative reset during development suggests that the game's story may have changed dramatically. While this worries some fans, late corrections in a narrative-driven series like BioShock can lead to better long-term results. A story built on weak foundations won't survive, no matter how strong the mechanics are. From that perspective, Cloud Chamber's decision to rethink the story from scratch could be the right move to protect the series' soul. Perhaps BioShock 4's greatest challenge will be balancing modern player expectations with the classic BioShock experience. Today's players often want larger spaces, more freedom, and longer playtimes, while BioShock's strength lies in controlled storytelling and dense atmosphere. Finding harmony between these two approaches will directly determine the game's success. If Cloud Chamber gets this balance right, BioShock 4 could honor the past while confidently stepping into the future. The technical side of BioShock 4 is just as intriguing as its story. The potential use of Unreal Engine 5 suggests an atmosphere far more detailed and immersive than anything the series has offered before. Lighting, environmental detail, and interior design are critical for a franchise built on mood and immersion. If used correctly, players won't just experience the story, they'll feel completely absorbed by the world. That said, technical power alone isn't enough. BioShock's most memorable moments came from environmental storytelling. Messages on walls, abandoned rooms, audio logs, and subtle details allowed players to piece the world together themselves. Whether BioShock 4 preserves this approach will be a defining factor for longtime fans. Even with larger areas, those spaces must be filled with meaningful content. Changes within the development team could also directly influence the game's tone. Rod Ferguson taking a leadership role means someone with direct BioShock experience is once again at the helm. Having previously worked on BioShock at Irrational Games, his involvement offers hope that the franchise's core values won't be forgotten. At the same time, it signals tighter oversight from 2K and extremely high expectations. BioShock 4's long development cycle also reflects broader issues in the modern games industry. Massive budgets, rising technical demands, and risk-averse publisher strategies create serious obstacles for creative projects. For a franchise built on bold ideas, survival depends not on nostalgia, but on a truly strong vision. BioShock 4 will test whether such projects are still possible. When all these factors come together, BioShock 4's fate rests on a razor's edge. On one side stands the franchise's legacy and fan expectations. On the other, the harsh realities of today's industry. Cloud Chamber's challenge is to deliver an experience that remembers what BioShock is without simply repeating it. If successful, BioShock 4 won't just revive the series. It will reaffirm the power of narrative-driven games. At its core, BioShock 4 is a story of waiting. Not just what the game is, but why it has remained unseen for so long occupies players' minds. Years of silence have pushed expectations higher while testing patience. When BioShock 4 finally steps into the spotlight, it won't just need to be good, it will need to feel worth the wait. What we've seen so far makes one thing clear. BioShock 4 hasn't had an easy development journey. Narrative resets, team changes, and shifting goals suggest a project that has changed direction multiple times. But gaming history is full of great titles born from difficult development cycles. What matters now is the clarity and courage of the final vision. What made BioShock special was its ability to challenge players, not just entertain them. A simple phrase like, "Would you kindly reshape narrative storytelling in games?" BioShock 4 must aim to recapture that same intellectual boldness. Its success will largely depend on whether it can rediscover that creative courage. That's everything we currently know about BioShock 4. But the real question is this: do you think this long wait will truly be worth it? Or does BioShock 4 risk falling short of expectations? Should the series return to its classic roots or evolve into a more open, modern structure? Make sure to share your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. And if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates on BioShock 4 and other highly anticipated games. See you in the next video.